What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where in this one, we're going to talk a little bit about the defense as promised, because yesterday we talked about the offense, kind of what we've done, what we need to do, and really, I mean, offensively, outside of like Anthony Richardson needing to be great so the offense can work, I think we're pretty well set on offense. If you didn't catch that video and the idea that I had for the offensive line, which is something that people have had a question about, then go check that video out after this one is done. But in this one, we're going to be talking about the defense. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button. Helps the channel out. Lets me know what you guys are into, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified when we drop content on this channel. But getting into our defense and what we've done, what we're looking like, where's our salary cap. So a lot of what we're going to go into here is going to start with the defensive line and how to build the defensive line. Of course, we've talked about going and getting Trey Hendrickson, and that would be a massive move for us. It would also take up pretty much the rest of the cap. And then, of course, going forward with a massive contract that he's going to want, probably $34, $35, $36 million for Trey Hendrickson. And then whatever the cap number is on top of that, like, it's just, are we going to do that? It just doesn't seem likely at this point that that's going to happen. Seems like the Bengals are willing to make all the bad decisions possible. And if they want to pay Trey Hendrickson too, then that just means there's going to be one team in the AFC that has a crazy looking offense. But for the most part, they're paying four guys almost their entire salary cap. We should be able to beat them if it ever comes to that. Probably not going to have to worry about the Bengals, to be completely honest with what they're doing. But as we talk about the Colts here, what we're looking at defensive end right now, we have Kwity Paye, Samson Ebicom, Liatu Latu, Taekwon Lewis, Isaiah Land, and Darrell Nachami. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably saying that wrong, but right now, holding on to six guys, and that's what we're looking at as we go into this conversation, where it's like, first of all, how would you fit Trey in? So you'd probably have to trade one of your guys, and that's not likely. And really, when you look at what the Colts are doing with some of their salary cap, we picked up the fifth-year option for Kwity Paye. That fifth year, fully guaranteed. And that fifth year is worth $13.387 million for Kwity Paye, and that's going against the cap. That's the seventh most against the cap for the Colts going into 2025 is Kwity Paye. It's more than Kenny Moore. It's more than even Samson Ebicom. It's more than Braden Smith now. It's more than Charvarius Ward and Zaire Franklin, Cam Bynum. These guys just got new contracts. Kwity Paye's fifth-year option, still more against the cap. So that one hurts. Of course, Samson, he's 10.49 against the cap this upcoming season. So that doesn't help us. But Braden, of course, no guaranteed money, and lowered his cap number by taking quite a pay decrease. I mean, quite a pay decrease, which was good for us. So overall, man, defensive end, I just don't see us really doing much. Looking at the free agents at defensive end, like, there's really just not much to want from the defensive end market and free agency, at least that of what's left. Like, Von Miller wants to start. Preston and Za'Darius Smith, both of those guys are going to want to be starting. Like, the names that you would actually might want to sign are guys that are going to want to start, but because you need Latu to play more, because he could be really effective, and you also have Kwity Paye making what he's making, like, he's got to play. So at the moment, it would just seem like it would be really just in the draft that we're going to go for any backup defensive linemen. Maybe we end up, picking up one of these, lower level guys, Jaha Ward as a depth piece. Do you go and get Shaq Thompson as a depth piece? If Jerry Hughes isn't retiring, hey, maybe you bring Jerry Hughes back and have him as a depth piece, somebody you can put in on some pass rushes every now and then. But really, man, I wouldn't touch any of these defensive ends again. I'd go to the draft if that's what we were thinking. Now, from defensive tackle, this is another one. I think we go into the draft for defensive tackle. We have obviously Grove and Buck. We have Tomiade. Then after that, we actually don't have much. We signed Neville Gallimore, and that seems like somebody that we could take in to the season with is somebody that played for the Rams, believe even had a sack in the playoffs. And what I've seen of him, it's not like I dove way into him, but just want to see who we're getting. And it's like as the year progressed, he got better and better being with the Rams. And that seems like his whole career. And listening to him talk about it, I think maybe he was drafted into the CFL, right? The Canadian Football League. I'm pretty sure is what they said during his press conference. Something. His journey is like this is a guy that's been underestimated. He just worked and worked. He's a veteran in the NFL at this point, but still has the physical tools, like just like Tommy Ade, right? Can play inside, can play outside, has athleticism, has some size to him. So we're rocking with those four. Then behind that is Feldarius Payne. Is our fifth DT. And again, I think we'll go into the draft. This is a draft that has some really good interior defensive linemen in it and one that has a little bit of depth at that position. And I think that's where the Colts are going to find some benefit in that market. And then when you go back, you start looking at the linebackers. Like in terms of free agency, inside, outside linebackers, there's really none that I would want. A lot of outside linebackers, rush the passer and whatnot. I don't know if they'll be doing that in this defense. So just going to hard pass there. And honestly, like what we do at pick 14, interesting conversation that we're going to need to have here pretty soon. And we will have that conversation. But as we move toward the secondary, right, looking at safeties, this is really the area because when you look at corners, of course, now we have some depth. We have Charvarius Ward, Jalen Jones, Kenny Moore. Those are your starters. And then behind that is Juju Brents, Samuel Womack, Corey Ballantyne fills in, who's probably going to be a special teamer, but nonetheless has some experience playing at corner as well. But when you really look at the safety market behind that, it's just like who exactly what do we go after? We're looking more so for like the strong safety position because behind Nick Cross is really where the talent level dives down. I mean, our backups right now: Trevor Denbo, Rodney Thomas II. So overall, like on the entire roster, that now that we have a backup running back, we're figuring the offensive line out. But I think that backup safety position is one that the Colts are going to have to find a way to get locked down. And who do they end up bringing in, right? Jordan Poyer's out there, but he's a vet guy. If he's going to not be a starter, I assume he's probably going to retire, right? Of course, Justin Simmons, Marcus Williams, like these guys expect to actually be playing wherever they end up signing. So from the free safety market, that's going to be tough. Looking at the strong safety market, like Julian Blackman, do you bring him in to be a backup? Would he do that? Quandre Diggs, probably not going to be okay with doing that. Jordan Fuller, he's still young. He's going to look for an opportunity to start. Maybe that would be an option. Tony Jefferson, if he doesn't retire, maybe that could be an option. A vet guy, played in Baltimore for a long time. Somebody that, obviously at 33 years old, not as young as myself anymore, but a good depth piece actually. Wouldn't be mad about that. John Johnson still playing, that's good. See, he'd be a decent depth piece, and we're talking about backups. Like none of these guys, if they played, it's like okay, that's probably not great for us. But nonetheless, for backups, at least from the free safety, we have some pretty good options. And then, of course, there's some guys who are just listed as safety. Looking through here, Damone Casey, no. Chuck Clark, but I doubt he's going to want to be a backup. Kayvon Wallace, kind of an interesting choice there. Marcus May, he's obviously getting older. He's dealt with some injuries, not his younger self anymore, of course, but nonetheless, I do think Marcus May would be a very interesting decision. If we were to end up bringing him in to be a backup, that'd be pretty cool. Ronnie Harrison is still out there. Be interesting to see if we brought him back just to be a depth piece and to be somebody we can depend on. Bro's only 28 years old. Seems like Ronnie Harrison's been around for so much longer, but still only 28 years old. Plenty of tread left on those tires, so maybe Ronnie Harrison is the answer. But again, Julian Blackman is somebody that just piques my interest as somebody who could be a backup. He's obviously, he's 26 and a half. He'll be 27 years old later this year. And Obviously, Julian Blackmon's going to be trying to go somewhere where he can get some playing time. He's put up numbers in the past. He just really isn't able to stay on the field all the time, which is really going to be the thing that affects his market. And then from the cornerbacks, again, we don't really need a lot. And it's not like we can spend a whole bunch of money. Chidobe Awuzie would be interesting. Good slot guy. He becomes available. How much is he going to want? Just to have, because I think we need somebody that we can depend on that can back up Kenny Moore, right? Maybe that could be Samuel Womack. I don't know if he would fit in that. Corey Ballantyne. I don't know if either of them could fit in the slot. Mike Hilton's available. He's another slot guy, somebody that I could see working out in that regard. And obviously, looking at the slot, you would need somebody that's physical. Rocky Sin, do you bring him back? And try to see if you can fit him in somewhere in the lineup. Jalen Mills is out here. Troy Hill is out here. Avante Maddox, somebody that would be an interesting choice. Been with the Eagles for a while. Maybe he's there. Honestly, Asante Samuel Jr. It's kind of crazy that he's not signed yet. Unless I'm missing some. I thought he was good. Maybe I'm wrong there. 25 years old. We'll see what happens with Asante Samuel, but he's still out there. After that, I mean, you start getting down this list, a whole bunch of, oh my goodness, if they hit the field, we are in a lot of trouble. So that's really what we're looking at. Again, defensive line. I think we'll go to the draft for defensive line. I think we'll go to the draft for linebacker. And I think when it comes to the secondary, I think there's some veterans that you could look at as safety to possibly bring in as backups. But from the corner perspective, like there's some interesting options, but don't really see us doing much. I think defensively, for the most part, set. We need to get the backup safeties figured out. We need to get defensive line depth figured out as we go into the season. And again, at linebacker, of course, we need a little bit of depth. But there are, again, ideas there. And again, I think this is going to be a defensive-heavy draft for the Colts. It's going to be very interesting to see what we do. Got to start going through, looking at mock drafts, what players are going to be available at what point, because there are a couple different players that I've had my eye on that I've seen other people talking about. So we'll see what I can cook up, see what I can make happen. But nonetheless, we're going to have plenty of content coming out, plenty more to talk about from the draft to guys on our team. A lot of stuff happening throughout this offseason, so make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have notifications on so you get notified anytime we drop any content on this channel. Of course, appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.